I did something pretty big recently. I gave a TEDx talk, and today I begin a multi part series on my own experience of giving a TEDx talk. In this first episode, I dive into what a TED talk is and why it has to be personal to you. Welcome to Every Day a New Thought. I'm Thor Chalgren, and today I'm beginning a multi part series on my own experience of giving a TEDx talk. I don't know exactly how many episodes this will be. I think it's going to be 6. It might be a 7th. We'll see when I get there. But at any rate, for right now, I know it's a 6-part series. And at the time of this episode, when I'm recording this, my talk is not live yet. This was actually several weeks ago that I gave it. So it's not live yet. It will be soon. And when it is, I'll put it in the show notes for the podcast and on YouTube as well. So it's possible by the time you watch this or listen to this, you'll find the link there. At any rate, that'll be there later on. So in this series, I'm going to cover how to get a TEDx talk and how to give a TEDx talk. And I'm going to put a big old caveat on that. This is my experience. Other people may have different approaches, different experiences. That's awesome. This is what worked for me. This is my experience. So for better or worse, this is me. But I've had a lot of people that have asked me about what my experience is like. So I thought, you know what? Before I forget about all of this or things fade into memory, I wanted to document this so that I could share in the future, this is what worked for me. So in today's episode, I'm going to address what a TED talk is, what a TEDx talk is. Then in the following episodes, I'll share my own perspective on how do you craft a TEDx talk, and again, underlying just my experience. I'll also talk about the logistics and the length of your talk. I'll address how much work goes into one, and then finally, how to get one. So first, we should start with some terms. A lot of people have heard of a TED talk, a TEDx talk, but what does TED stand for? Technology, entertainment, and design. As they frame it, these are 3 areas that shape our entire world. So TED as a conference began in 1984. The first talk was placed online in 2006, and you probably you've seen TED Talks before, I'm sure. Most people have seen at least one, and you can have this amazing experience where you watch it and you're inspired by it. I'll use the term TED Talk and TEDx somewhat interchangeably, but there is a difference, and here's what it is. TED, if you hear someone say they gave a TED Talk, that refers to the main TED organization. This is the main conference that happens only a few times a year. And typically, a TED Talk is one that you are invited to give. A lot of times, this might be people like Bill Gates or someone who has distinguished themselves in some other area of life. So that's a TED Talk. TEDx refers to independently licensed groups that put on their own events. So in the case of TEDx Anchorage, that is a group that is licensed by TEDx to put on their own event, and they have to meet certain standards, certain requirements, and it has to be a certain way. But they get to then organize their own event and select their own speakers. So that's what I gave. I gave a TEDx talk at TEDx Anchorage in 2023. So let's first start with what it is. A TEDx talk, a TED talk, the common word, talk. It is a talk, not a speech. I've heard people say, think of it as this is a talk you might give to friends in your living room. Don't think of it as being on this huge stage giving an oration to thousands. This is a talk where you're sharing an idea. TED describes the talk this way. They say it's an idea worth sharing, one idea. So really, built into that statement is everything that you kind of need to know. First, it's an idea. One, you may know a lot about a subject, but right now we're focused on one idea. It's an idea worth sharing. And implied in that is worth sharing. Why is this idea important to you? Why are you the best person to share this idea? Think about what difference will this idea make in the world? Who will it impact? So, really, what you're wanting to do is you want to have something that you are so passionate about sharing that you believe its worth to the world requires you to go through this effort to bring this idea to the world. And finally, the last word, sharing. Is this an idea that you can distill down into its shareable essence? Have you made it easy to share? By the end of the process, if you choose to go through this, you want to make sure that you can answer that. Is there something in the essence of this idea that is easy to share? So that's what a TED talk, a TEDx talk is. It's an idea worth sharing. So you're going to have to answer those questions when you apply to talks, and I'll share more about that process later. But you might want to give some thought to that because you'll have to eventually. May as well do it up front, right? I'll say lastly that this talk should be personal to you. And here's why. This is a long process from the beginning of when you apply to when you finally get to talk. So you need passion to sustain you through that process. And then not only that, but you want your passion for the idea to be something that the audience sees. You want them to recognize and see, oh my God, this person cares so much about this. So passion, why this idea is personal to you, it's so important. So I'll talk next in the next episode about how you craft an idea. But for now, as you begin to think about a possible idea you might have for a talk, and maybe you're not even someone who's thought about this, but I like the idea of going through life and going, if I was going to talk about one thing, something I'm passionate about, what would it be? Maybe you'll never give a TED talk, a TEDx talk, but if you think about one idea and something that's passionate to you, I think it helps you go through life looking for things that you are passionate about. So think about that. What's this idea and why you? I'll see you in tomorrow's episode where we'll talk about how do you craft your TEDx idea. I'll put some show notes, some resources in the show notes that I've found helpful. So do definitely check those out. Until tomorrow, thanks for watching.